Today, I'm going to be making custom Magic the Gathering cards based on the popular roguelike Slay the Spire. The Ironclad is a 4/4 legendary human warrior for 3 red, white, and a blue. It has Vigilance and Burning Blood. At the beginning of your end step, you gain 3 life. He also has the 2 activated abilities Havoc and Cleave, with Havoc allowing you to exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You can play that card. And Cleave, the Ironclad deals damage equal to its power to all creatures opponents control. The Ironclad is one of the 4 classes you can play throughout Slay the Spire, and his starting ability is the item Burning Blood, which at the end of combat in Slay the Spire gains you 6 life. In Magic the Gathering, I did the same thing, but reduced it down to 3 life just since the life totals are slightly different. Additionally, the Ironclad has a bunch of different cards that allow him to exile cards from the top of his library and play them for free. Specifically, the card Havoc is one of these cards, so I decided to staple it on to Ironclad himself, and the obvious one-to-one translation in Magic the Gathering would be a classic exile draw effect that we see in a lot of red cards recently. And then finally, the Ironclad also has a lot of AoE spells which are able to hit multiple enemies. To represent it in Magic the Gathering, I made it so when you tap him, you can deal his power to all creatures as if you're casting Cleave on a group of enemies in Slay the Spire. Demon Form is an enchantment for 4 red, with at the beginning of your end step, put a strength counter on Demon Form, and creatures you control get +X/+O, where X is the number of strength counters on Demon Form. Demon Form is one of the iconic powers you can get while playing as the Ironclad, and what it does is that it increases the amount of strength you have at the end of your turn by 2. To represent this in Magic, I made it so we still have the strength building effect by putting a counter on it at the end of each turn, and our creatures get boosted based on this. It's a pretty one-to-one translation from Slay the Spire, but where I really think this shines is token decks that we see in stuff like Jetmir. If you have 5/something creatures on the battlefield, this card gets really strong really quickly, and I think it would be super fun to take advantage of it. The Silent is a 5/2 legendary human rogue for 2 green and a blue, with its first ability being Ring of the Serpent. At the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card, and Hovering Kite whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, add 1 mana of any color. The Silent is another one of the classes you can play as in Slay the Spire. Their upgraded starter item is the Ring of the Serpent, which allows you to draw an additional card during your draw step in that game. So it's a one-to-one translation in Magic the Gathering, allowing you to draw an additional card during your draw step. And another one of the relics you can get as the Silent is the Hovering Kite, which allows you to get 1 energy back whenever you discard a card for the first time each turn. And I thought the best way to represent energy in Magic the Gathering would of course be mana, since it's almost the exact same thing. So whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, you get to add 1 mana of any color to your pool. I think if you really wanted to take advantage of this, you could be running a lot of looting effects, and take full advantage of it by using it on both your turn and your opponent's turn. The Defect is a 1/2 legendary artifact creature golem for 1 and a red, and it enters the battlefield with a charge counter on it, and at the beginning of your end step, the Defect deals X damage to a random creature an opponent controls, where X is the number of charge counters on the Defect. The Defect is an interesting class in Slay the Spire since it mechanically revolves around channeling orbs. To start off with, you get 1 lightning orb channel based on his starting item. To represent this in Magic, I use charge counters to represent the lightning orbs that you can channel with him, with you putting more charge counters on him as a way to represent you channeling even more and more lightning orbs. You can combine this with stuff like Proliferate and other charge counter synergies to really take advantage of this ability in the late game. Ball Lightning is a sorcery for 3 red with deal 5 damage to any target and put a charge counter on up to 1 target creature. This is one of the classic spells that we can pick up as the Defect in Slay the Spire, allowing us in game to deal 7 damage to any target and channel 1 lightning. To represent this in Magic, I made it so we can deal 5 damage to any target, just like a traditional 5 mana sorcery that we see a lot throughout Magic. And to represent the channel lightning, as I said before, with the Defect, we represent that with charge counters. So combined with something like the Defect, you can take advantage of this significantly. Claw is an instant for 1 red, and you can have any number of them in your deck. Additionally, it deals X+1 damage to any target, where X is the number of spells in your graveyard named Claw. Claw is one of the most iconic cards in Slay the Spire, mainly due to its kind of janky nature. In Slay the Spire, every time you play a spell named Claw, it increases the amount of damage that all other spells named Claw do for the rest of the combat encounter. To represent this in Magic, I made it so you can have an infinite number of them in your deck, like something like Shadowborn Apostles or Relentless Rats. And I made it so the damage increases based on the number of cards in your graveyard named Claw, which obviously makes it very strong. You can take a lot of advantage of this by using stuff like self-mill strategies to really boost the power of Claw, but I think it's more fun if you kinda just load it up randomly and hope for the best. The Watcher is a 3/3 legendary human monk for 2 green, blue, and a red, with when it enters the battlefield create a treasure token. It also has Calm, which says as long as the Watcher is untapped, the Watcher gets +0 + X, where X is the Watcher's toughness, and Wrath, you may exert the Watcher as it attacks, and if you do, the Watcher gets +X +0, where X is the Watcher's power, until end of turn. The Watcher is a very unique class in Slay the Spire since she has the ability to stance change. And two of the main stances that she switches between are Wrath and Calm. While in Wrath mode, you take double the damage you would normally take, but you also deal double the damage. To represent these abilities in Magic, I made it so when you exert her, you can deal double the damage, making it so while you are making yourself more vulnerable by giving up a blocker, you are increasing the amount of damage you're doing because of it. Additionally, I made it so in Calm you get additional toughness to represent that you're not in the Wrath state. Additionally, I also made it so when she enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token to represent her starting relic, Pure Water, which allows you to get a miracle, which essentially does the same thing that a treasure token does, where you can cash it in later for 1 mana. If you enjoyed this video, please check out some of my other custom MTG videos right over here and subscribe.